everyone. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams. Donald Eng across the way. We've got some things to bounce around over the next half hour, and of course, basketball coming up later today on the HAN Network as well. But Don, first I start with you. Greetings, salutations, the whole thing, and great job yesterday.
Wow, you know, it sure is nice to be back on the comfortable side of the set here. Yeah, I give all credit to AJ Zimanowski, you know, feeding me story ideas and commentary, holding the paper bag for me to breathe into during commercial breaks. We got through it. It was fun.
All right, good stuff. You know, you never know. I'm going to take another day off somewhere along the line, so hang in there with me, partner. You know, some things I want to bounce around. First of all, we're dealing with the possibility of some shaky weather today, maybe an inch, depending on where you are. I just saw Caner Tech has postponed some games. Now, they're up near Waterbury, so you're a little further up.
A little further north. It's not supposed to be bad, but it is the kind of the worst possible time for the snow to come down.
I know on Coffee Break, John Kovac, I chatted to me that Seymour had canceled their after-school activities, and I'm sure, you know, we might hear of a few more throughout the region. So, you know, we've got that. We do have basketball later on down in Stamford, and, you know, we were talking about it before the show. Eric Gendron was talking with us, and we were saying that a lot of it should be done by 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. So you would hope by the time we're leaving Stamford High School or wherever you may be, by the time games are over, it really shouldn't be bad. Knock on, you know,
knock on particle board. Yeah, it's supposed to start snowing like later in the day, like around like maybe around 5 or 6 with flurries. Build to what they call snow showers, and then, you know, a half inch to an inch, probably and probably done by about midnight. So, but again, it's just the timing when everyone's going to be on the roads is what the concern is. We'll just keep our fingers crossed. Is really all we can do.
We do have some other things to get to, but, you know, you didn't get a whole lot of time to talk about it yesterday, and I'm glad I was able to kind of come back in so we could talk about it together. And that is what happened on Saturday night, you know, and at the boys basketball game specifically between St. Joseph and Trumbull. Do I want to make a mountain out of a molehill? No, not necessarily. But granted, it was a charity event, so you'd hope everybody would play nice for the night. But at the
so
you're
nixing my brawl at Alumni Hall note.
Wasn't quite a brawl, but I do like the name, the Brawl at Alumni Hall. It's cute. It's got some charm to it. But, you know, once the players get on the floor and they've tossed the ball, they're not thinking about the pink T-shirts and all at that point. They're thinking it's a regular season basketball game. So the emotions do run high. It is a crosstown rival. So I do take all of that into account. And I know Eric was getting us some highlights of that. He's good with it. Let's take a look at what we saw on Saturday. Deals off to the sideline for Nemchek. Bounce pass goes inside. Recker, the big man, throws it up. No good. A second try. Fighting for it. And a jump ball. Oh, and some pushing and shoving. This can't happen.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is not good.
Out of control right now is Nemchek, who came flying in, getting tangled up.
Let's see what happened. Ben McCullough is livid. He's being held back by Recker, and looks like a couple other guys. Looks like that's full. And
all right, a couple of key things out of it. High emotion. As brawls go, minimal. No punches were thrown. Can't stress that enough. But there were some emotions that bordered on, you know.
Kind of a charge and a shoulder check. And they had been, I think, who was it, the player? Was it the Trumbull High player? I don't know that I would say he instigated, but he certainly dramatically overreacted to the provocation that was happening.
As you're taking a look at it right now, you see McCullough going up for the rebound, and then, you know, it's one of those jump ball things, and a player goes down, then, you know, McCullough puts the ball up into the St. Joe's player's face, and then here comes Nemchek getting in the face of Omar Telfor, and at that point it was like, all right, let's play the feud. But again, I'm bringing it up more so as it's kind of the back end of a week full of things that we saw. We saw what happened with you know, the Darien game, what took place there with Notre Dame of West Haven. Then we had that Trinity Catholic Norwalk game. Now that wasn't an on-the-court thing. It was fans and parents, which to me can't happen at all.
Although those two schools have a bit of a history, obviously, with the football with the football situation that happened earlier this season. For all we know, it was a continuation. You just don't know what's said on the court between these people.
You know, when it's one event, I kind of go, no big deal. 2 events, okay, my eyes are slightly open. 3 events, I'm going, wait, what? I understand they're 3 different events, but they all happened in the span of about a week's time. Should we make something of this? Is this a trend, or is it, it's just one of those things that we got to keep an eye on?
It probably is just sort of a quirk and just sort of like an outlier. I mean, these things do happen, and nowadays, of course, with everyone videotaping every game, you see them more often. I don't know that they're happening more than they used to, but we're certainly more aware of them. And what happens, I think, is what's going to happen is what we saw with the hockey. A couple of star players get 2-game suspensions, and then the coach tells his guys to knock it off. I think that's generally the way it's going to go.
And out of that game on Saturday, there were no ejections. There were just a couple of technical fouls, most of which really wound up not playing a big role in the game, to be honest. So, it all kind of settled down. I noticed Joe Nemechek disappeared for quite a while. He did make his way back into the game eventually. But maybe much ado about nothing, but again, something that I noticed coming out of it. And you certainly, look, I want emotion, and I like passion, and I like the energy in the building the other night, but you don't want to see it go into being that either.
No, you don't. It's particularly because when things like that happen, when someone's running in from behind another player, that's when you can get injuries taking place and things like that. And then you always worry about one guy shoulders the other, and then the other guy elbows him back, and then someone gets a ball thrown at them, and then someone comes running in. It tends to escalate. It's not exactly an eye for an eye. You get shoved and you respond with a two-hander, and it does tend to escalate, and that's where the danger is, and that's why I think the refs handled that one pretty well, and I think the hockey refs actually handled it pretty well because there's 40 players on the ice, and so ejections had to be handed out, and along with them suspensions. But ultimately, it's going to be up to the coaches to keep their guys in the game.
And on site at the basketball doubleheader, credit to the athletic directors, of course, Kevin Butler from St. Joseph and Mike King from Trumbull. They did a great job keeping their student sections. Both those bomb squads were fired up and ready to have some fun. So, nothing came of any of that. In fact, we were sitting with the Trumbull bomb squad. Jake and myself were. In fact, I tweeted out a picture of kind of having a little fun with the Trumbull kids. So, everybody seemed to get along and play nice in the end, but credit those on site, the adults that needed to step up, and then the leaders among the students did what they needed to do to kind of resolve it. So hopefully, it's much ado about nothing, and we won't see a whole lot more of it. But I do like the energy. I do like the passion. I want to see that kind of, I want to see aggressive, good, fun basketball or hockey or whatever. You just don't want to see it step over the line.
No, you certainly don't, and I was thinking about that last night, actually, watching the college football championship game. Wasn't it great to watch a game with virtually no penalties, no cheap shots? It was as hard a fought a football game as you'll ever see, and when it was over, it was over. You saw sports played at an incredibly high level,
yeah,
and everybody kept control of themselves, and that's really all we want from sports.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Alabama for winning the national title last night. We will not talk Steelers and Bengals. We'll leave that to a whole different show and a whole different time, but that was silly. Just to back up what you're saying, it kind of, emphasizes some of the silliness we're seeing, and just not necessary. But I agree with you. Great athleticism last night in college football. To basketball again, we'll stay there with the boys basketball poll that I saw come out from Game Time CT, and now we're seeing the emergence of the Danbury Hatters as the number 10 team in the state. According to the voters, of course, they are 5-0 coming off those victories, one of which you saw right here on the HAN Network where they knocked off Norwalk 65-51. They strike me right now as the team to beat in the FCAC, and I'll tell you this, as I look at the rest of the poll, the state feels that way too because nobody else in the FCAC is getting any respect. No, Danbury coming in at number 10 in the latest Register poll. I think they've clearly separated themselves from the pack. Them and McMahon are the two teams to beat. McMahon also 6-0, Danbury 5-0. McMahon is 6-0, and McMahon is the fifth team in the others receiving votes category, so you would call them the 15th ranked team in the state. No one else in the FCAC really garnering that many votes. Ludlow is also Ludlow and West Hill are down toward the bottom in like single digits of vote getting. But it does seem to me pretty clear that Danbury last week beating West Hill
and also Norwalk. Neither game really being that close. The Hatters clearly, in my opinion, the team to beat in the FCIAC.
But keep in mind, you've got Stanford at 5-1, and I know you got to look at who they've played so far this year. Trumbull is 5-1. We saw the Eagles. I was impressed by the Eagles. I thought they looked good the other night. Norwalk finally getting a win, but I still think Norwalk's got some life to them. They're 1-5. They take on 5-1 Stanford tonight. I'm not willing to throw dirt on the Norwalk Bears just now. They were the runner-up in last year's FCIAC championship game. And again, I saw them put on a little bit of a run the other night against Danbury, so there's some talent there. I think they can stay with the Black Knights tonight down at Stanford High School.
Oh, I agree. Danbury, the top team in the FCIAC, beat Norwalk 65-51, a 14-point game. Not a blowout. You never really got the sense that Norwalk would win the game. But definitely, Norwalk, quality team, and I think tonight's game is anyone's game.
And, before we step away from how the FCIAC looks, but Ward at 4-2, Wilton at 4-1. Again, Joel Juriak is a good coach. And what John Daly's doing with his 4-2 Fairfield Ludlow Falcons, good stuff there. And just knowing that they had a loss last week in which they didn't play well. But sometimes that's kind of a gift to a coach, because it allows the coach to say to his team, you're not as good as you think. Just because we had a little bit of success, here's your wake-up call. Now get it together and let's go have a big year.
Sure. There's really no team other than possibly Sacred Heart. There's really no team in the state that can go out and not play their best game and be confident of coming away with a win.
We'll give you the rest of the game time poll before we step out for a break. Notre Dame Fairfield at number 9, Crosby 8, Newington 7, Wilbur Cross 6. I'll just roll through them, Don. Windsor 5, East Catholic 4, Fairfield Prep at number 3, the Weaver Beavers number 2, and Sacred Heart number 1. With obvious reason, Sacred Heart's just blowing everybody right out of the water, 6-0 on the year.
Sure.
Defeated Wolcott 94-58, Derby 87-42, Kennedy 96-49. They're a machine if you haven't seen them.
They really are, and they've got a couple of high major Division I basketball prospects on that team, led by
Mustafa Haran.
Yes, Mustafa Haran.
What a player.
They're just a great team.
Yep, absolutely. With all that said, we can take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. Don and I will come back. We got a few more things to do before we send you on your way. And again, basketball coming up 7 o'clock tonight at Stanford High School as we continue on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express, open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter, and I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN Network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network for Tuesday. Looking forward to basketball tonight. Turning my attention to hockey in a moment, but little news that came out earlier today, Don.
Yeah, the news is that the former Hill House head coach Tommy Dyer has been named the school's football coach at Hamden. Dyer spent 5 years at Hill House, going 51-17, including 2 Class M football championships in 2010 and 2012. So after the 2012 season, he took the job as the athletic director at Hamden, and now with the resignation of Hamden's coach, Dyer will take over the Dragon football program. According to Game Time CT, Dyer said, "I've always missed coaching. As an athletic director, you deal with a lot more adult issues than kid issues. I went to college to be a phys ed teacher and work with kids. This will allow me now to get to know a group of kids on a different level. This will allow me to get to know more about the kids' families and allow them to find out more about me. This next few months will be a learning process." Now, this is really interesting because Dyer is an SCC veteran. He guided the academics to 2 state championships and put together some really outstanding teams in 2010 and 2012. The Harold Cooper teams that really were a juggernaut going through the state. Now he takes over a Hamden program that has the largest enrollment in the SCC, and also has moved down to Division II this year, which will, as the SCC went to a 3-division format. So the schedule is going to get easier for Hamden than it was the last couple of years. They have a coach taking over that has a track record of getting city schools to state championships. I think this is going to be fascinating to watch.
One other thing related to football that merges with basketball, the Darien State champs will receive the Max Preps Award next Tuesday, the 19th, at the varsity basketball game at halftime. So again, the Blue Wave continuing to receive lots of attention for really a phenomenal year in football.
It really was. They were clearly the team to beat from beginning to end. People like me said, "Well, let's see how they do against blank. Well, let's see how they do against blank." And every blank I put in front of them, they just demolished. So yeah, I mean, you really can't say enough. Darien Blue Wave, clearly the team of 2015 in Connecticut.
While we're doing a couple of quickies, I noticed a note here on Twitter from Ludlow Athletics, and so many of these Twitter feeds stay aggressive in terms of things such as the HAN FCAC Athlete of the Week, and they're telling you to come out and vote for Alex McKinnon and Julia Pangallo that are among the Athlete of the Week nominees, so you want to make sure you get out and vote for the Athletes of the Week. They deserve the attention. I know you announced them yesterday.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part of the week, is these Athletes of the Week, particularly when you see the vote tallies come in and kids are getting 2,000 votes. It's just a great way for the student bodies to really get involved and to get their school and their classmates some much deserved publicity.
By the way, we're intending to have the Stanford Black Knight basketball coach on with us tomorrow. It was going to be on today's show, but Danny Melzer nice enough to make it. We're going to try to record something with him and have him on tomorrow's show when, of course, when Don morphs into Dave Stewart.
Yeah, it's really one of those remarkable things. We need to get like the Michael Jackson black or white, like anamorphic thing there to turn me into Dave.
that would be kind of interesting, Don.
It would be interesting, actually.
I must admit.
Actually, now that I say that, it's probably a terrible idea. Don't try that.
Don't try it at home, folks. As we take a look at the poll right now, in fact, Eric Day of Brian McMahon Basketball is leading the poll with 23%. It's a 6-point lead on Giacomo Brancato, who has 17% from Fairfield Ward. Over on the girls' side, Claire Perry of Stanford West Hill Staples has a commanding lead at 39% over Catherine Granito of New Canaan Ice Hockey with just 10% of the vote. So get out, do your vote, HAN.network, live.HAN.network if you so choose, and please go out and vote. Want to turn my attention and our attention over to hockey for a moment, Don, and we've made a few changes to the schedule, which is part of the reason I want to bring hockey up. And you and I were talking about it. If you had a vote for the #1 team in the state right now, who would it be?
Greenwich, undefeated with quality wins. They've gone through their schedule. They've beaten the teams that they've played. They've played a tough schedule also. Mm-hmm. And as I was mentioning yesterday, it has been such a strange week in hockey. You had Darien, which was the consensus #1 coming into the season. Darien loses to Notre Dame. Notre Dame then does not win another game, going 0-1-1, losing 4-0 to St. Joseph, and then tying a 1-5 Fairfield Prep team, scoring only 2 goals despite putting 80 shots on goal in those 2 games, by the way. And then you had Xavier, who has beaten Notre Dame. Xavier losing. It's so it was just who's still standing? In my opinion, I put Greenwich 1, Xavier 2.
I would agree with that. I think Darien has to take a little bit of a fall right now, and it's a shame. Darien and Greenwich meet next Monday down at the Dorothy Hamill Rink. We cannot get into the Dorothy Hamill Rink to broadcast, unfortunately, right now. I know the Cardinal Crazies were tweeting us, hoping we could do it. Hopefully we can make something happen in the future, so just want to keep that in mind, because certainly that's a huge game that we would love to see, right here on our airwaves. That being said, we do have hockey next Monday and next Wednesday now, and these are some changes taking place to the schedule. Trumbull and Massac, we will have that game. It's a boys ice hockey game, 4 o'clock next Monday. That's at the rinks at Shelton. Then on Wednesday, we'll have Darien and St. Joseph as well at the rinks at Shelton. That's a 6:30 start. Among the other changes we are finalizing, Wednesday the 27th, we're going to add Danbury and Fairfield Ward Wrestling to the docket. That will be at the Fairfield Ward Gymnasium at 5 o'clock on Wednesday the 27th. And one last note, Friday the 29th, really a great showdown. This will be the second time they will meet. Darien and New Canaan girls ice hockey right now. The better matchup, quite honestly, than boys ice hockey. Darien and New Canaan should be a great matchup on Friday the 29th, and that is at 6:40. So just a couple of the things that we have added. And again, go check out the full schedule. And hey, if we're missing something, let us know. We'll do what we can.
Yeah, and what else do you have to say? I mean, really, it almost doesn't matter the sport. You just say Darien, New Canaan, it's going to be hard fought. It's like the old days in the 70s and 80s when you said Ansonia Derby. It doesn't matter the sport. Whether it's Model UN, Debate Club, chess. Those two schools really want to beat each other.
Both girls and boys basketball, in fact, played close games last night between Darien and New Canaan.
Yeah, and particularly, we haven't really talked too much about Darien and New Canaan basketball, but again, whatever the records, whatever the sport, it's always fun when those two teams collide.
Yeah, they're both right around 2-5, 2-4 in boys basketball in the FCAC overall. So they both have a little bit of work to do, but it takes you 8 to get into the playoffs. Or in this new format, it kind of depends on where you sit in the seedings. So that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, I said the only thing better than a Darien New Canaan game is a Darien New Canaan playoff game.
There's some truth to that. I saw Scott Erickson tweet this last night. The girls' basketball final score was 28-23. And, of course, the boys' football championship final score was 28-21. That shows you some low basketball scoring right
Symmetry
there.
Right? Yeah, that is a 28-23. I guess 2-point conversion failed there in the last few minutes.
With all that said, we should probably grab our final break, and then Don and I will come back and wrap up this edition of Nutmeg Sports as we get ready for basketball down the line in Stanford. Looking forward to that. Haven't done a game down at Stanford High School, not in the gym, in some time, so it should be fun. Out for a break. We continue on Nutmeg Sports right after this on the HAN Network.
While there's still a bite out on the water, most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With 2 convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Panby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Find over 1,000 special stories at Hospital for Special Surgery. Go to hss.edu/backinthegame.
I was jogging 5 months after my cartilage tear.
Skiing a year after hip surgery.
And playing grandma 4 weeks after hip replacement.
One special hospital, 1,000 special stories. See Connecticut patients at hss.edu/CT.
Denali is your outdoor retail destination in the Westfield Trumbull Mall. For the last 21 years, we have carefully selected clothing, footwear, and gear from a variety of the best outdoor brands, such as the North Face, Patagonia, Vineyard Vines, UGG, Merrell, GoPro, New Balance, and many more. Our stores have a friendly, knowledgeable staff to help you with all of your running, hiking, and cold weather needs, and in discovering all things outdoorsy and awesome. Visit us in the Westfield Trumbull Mall or online at denalioutdoor.com.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. Nearly 500,000 viewers enjoyed our broadcasts in the first 5 months. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Back with you on Nutmeg Sports as we wrap up a Tuesday edition. I know the girls basketball poll is also out, Don. What do we got there?
Well, essentially, most of it stays about the same. A little bit of a shuffle. At the top, Capital Prep, now 6-1, holds down the number 1 spot, getting 16 of the 19 first place votes. Capital Prep last week defeated Prince Tech 81-47, Vinyl Tech 62-25, and Goodwin Tech 80-36, and they then proceeded to lose a non-conference game to Christ the King of New York yesterday. Certainly no shame in that. A lot of good teams can say they've lost to Christ the King. Number 2, Mercy, also 8-0, and number 3, New London, also 8-0. Mercy Class L, Capital Prep, and New London in Class L.
And of course, right there at number 4 in the Game Time basketball poll, the Greenwich Cardinals, who we will see Friday night as they take on the Ridgefield Tigers. That was the championship game in the FCAC last season. The Tigers have been stumbling a little bit, so I'm very interested to see what the Cardinals and Tigers do this Friday night. I think it's still going to be a good one.
I think it should be a good one. Greenwich, I think right now is just a more complete team, but you know, you never know. I mean, Greenwich has beaten St. Joe's 57-51 last week, and then they kind of blew out West Hill 73-40. So yeah, Friday's rematch, could be a good one. We'll see what happens.
Norwich Free Academy number 5, Cromwell 6, then Fairfield Ward at number 7, and the Mustangs have played well. They're 6-1 on the year.
Yes, and they have Trumbull on tonight, actually, and Trumbull not in the top 10, but they do have a record of 7-1. They're also lumped into that others receiving votes category. They're about 4 or 5 teams down, so the voters consider Trumbull to be about a top 15 or so school.
Rounding out the top 10, New Fairfield at 9-0 is number 8, Conard number 9, and South Windsor number 10. So those are the Game Time CT top 10 girls basketball teams. We look forward to tomorrow, but first we look forward to tonight as the Stanford Black Knights host the Norwalk Bears down at Stanford High School. Jake Zimmer, Frank Granito, and I with the call, Eric Gendron with the direction. Lots of good people down there helping to make it look really good for you tonight. That is 7 o'clock. We'll be on the air right around 6:50 or so. A little early tonight. We're going to have some special guests to get the broadcast started, so we look forward to that. See you soon, but probably not tomorrow.
Probably not tomorrow. Yes, I'll be busily currying, and then then Thursday the week continues.
All right, so that'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. Thanks for watching us. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks to Eric Gendron for helping us put the show together. For Donald Eng, I'm Rob Adams. Enjoy your day. Basketball later on the HAN Network. So long, everyone.